If you've been looking for your chance to learn more about the personal lives of Switek and Zito, today is your lucky day. Made for Each Other was written by Alan Weisbecker and Dennis Cooper, and was directed by Rob Cohen, who'd go on to make a name for himself directing big dumb Hollywood action films like XXX and the first Fast and the Furious. I enjoyed both those films for what they were, and I also can't bring myself to hate this absolutely terrible train wreck of an episode. But it is, in fact, absolutely terrible, so brace yourself, we've got a lot of badness ahead. Vice is looking to take down a prominent fence named Castellata by going through one of his associates, an electronic salesman named Bonzo Berry, who is played by Mark Linn-Baker from Perfect Strangers. Switek and Zito pose as shady discount suppliers and try to lure Bonzo Berry into buying some stolen merchandise. They're exposed as cops by Berry's sexy assistant, who Vice had busted earlier for prostitution. Check out this amazing and useless neon tunnel at the opening to Berry's store. I don't know why this entryway exists, but I'm sure glad it does. With their cover blown, Switek and Zito decide to call in reinforcements. They summon two of Vice's informants, both of whom we've met before, Charlie Barnett's Noogie and Martin Ferrero's Izzy. Figuring that Noogie and Izzy, who, after all, are career criminals, could plausibly pose as dealers in stolen merchandise, Switek and Zito recruit the pair to go through Berry to set up a meeting with Castellata. Castellata is played by Johnny Vatos Hernandez, founding member of and drummer for Oingo Boingo. So Izzy and Noogie meet with Berry and talk a pretty fast game about moving stolen VCRs. They do this while dressed like a bargain basement version of Tubbs and Crockett, and the result is deeply silly, but to be fair, somewhat entertaining. While all this is going on, Zito has been dealing with a string of bad luck. His home has been blown up in a gas explosion, forcing him to move in with Switek, who is currently living with his new girlfriend Darlene, who is Zito's ex. Darlene, who greatly objects to Zito's presence, and indeed his very existence, is played by Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors, Ellen Greene. A significant percentage of this episode is just a Switek and Zito buddy comedy, which means you'll get to see them hanging out in their underwear in front of the TV doing dueling Elvis impressions. Your response to this episode will pretty much hinge upon how much enthusiasm you feel at that idea. Zito's constant presence in his apartment is starting to interfere with Switek's sex life, which I'm not sure I needed as a concept in my brain. Lonely and adrift, Zito hangs out at Vice headquarters after hours, which is where Crockett finds him, alone except for a goldfish Gina and Trudy bought him to replace one that got killed when his house blew up. A surprisingly warm and gentle scene ensues in which Zito confesses to Crockett that he's worried Switek will get his heart trampled by Darlene because Darlene's kind of the worst. Crockett invites Zito to crash on his boat with him, but Zito declines. This is the first time we've seen either Switek or Zito have a serious conversation with anyone. It's a nice change of pace. And then immediately after this cool little scene, we get treated to a scene in which Switek feels so guilty about kicking out Zito that he can't get it up in bed with Darlene. With one hand Miami Vice giveth, and with the other it taketh away. So this is a very whimsical and zany episode, obviously, but you know who has no tolerance for zany whimsy? Castillo, that's who. As magnificently grim as always, Castillo balls out Switek and Zito for making Noogie and Izzy do the work of real detectives and orders them to dismiss them from the case. Despite being fired, Noogie and Izzy decide to go through with the scam anyway, so they try to sell Castellata a stolen 3-ton cement truck. Just, I don't know, it doesn't make much more sense when you have the complete context. Long story short, Castellata figures out that Noogie and Izzy are working for the cops, and Switek and Zito resort to various feats of bravery and daring-do to save them. And it all ends with the entire Vice gang, minus Castillo, showing up to Noogie's wedding to a stripper named Ample Annie, who does a striptease while walking down the aisle. Music used in this episode includes Money, That's What I Want, the 1959 Motown hit by Barrett Strong. It plays during a pre-credit sequence that has nothing to do with anything else that happens in this episode, in which Crockett and Tubbs try to take down a counterfeiter named Artie, who is played by UK television mainstay Nicholas Woodeson, whom you might know as Posca on HBO's Rome. Also, Elvis's Treat Me Nice plays while Darlene moves into Switek's apartment. I'll just cut to the chase. This is a One Flamingo episode. Of course it is. It's awful. However, it's got a much higher entertainment value than the season's other One Flamingo episode, Glades, which was mostly just boring as snot. This one is messy and stupid, but it's not boring. That's enough of this one. We will be on much surer ground next episode, in which Crockett and Castillo pair up to investigate a string of brutal home invasions. Until then, please subscribe to my channel or follow me on Twitter to keep on top of all updates, and I will see you later. Goodbye.